Hi, and welcome to the Teams by Intent podcast, where we explore how forward-thinking leaders are redefining workforce strategy by putting skills at the center of hiring, development, and long-term team design. The Teams by Intent podcast is brought to you by Placement, a workforce partner that connects leading organizations with the talent their competitors miss. I'm James Krouse, your host. Welcome, and thanks for listening. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Teams by Intent podcast. I'm James Krouse for Placement, and we're exploring conversations about what it takes to build a great team. And normally on this program, what we do is have a conversation with a workforce leader and talk a little bit about how they build a great team. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. I recently had the chance to attend the ProcureCon Contingent Staffing conference and had a whole wide range of conversations with people at that show, workforce leaders from manufacturing to accounting and finance to airlines. So a really wide breadth of industries, and had the chance to get their perspective on what it takes to build a great team. What's interesting is that when it comes to contingent staffing, a lot of times that's kind of looked at as being something that is counter to building a great team. In other words, why aren't you hiring people internally? And what we're finding is that organizations are really finding all kinds of ways of meeting their challenges through a team, whether or not that is contingent staffing, whether or not that's an apprenticeship program. It could be an internal team. It could be outsourcing. It could be leveraging AI. And that's a topic that came up quite a bit. What I wanted to do was just share some of those conversations with you with a number of different individuals that I spoke to there on the show floor at Contingent Staffing. One of the things before we kind of dive into some of those trends is a perspective on how many trends have been introduced over 5, 10, 15 years. And that a lot of those things are coming to fruition. And the first clip that I want to play is from Dustin Talley, who is the founder of Direct Collective, which is a community for contingent workforce leaders.
I came to one of the first ones about 10 years ago to ProcureCon, maybe 2016 timeframe. And I think the thing that's interesting this year is the topics we're talking about are things people are actually doing and actually putting in their programs. So years past, right, we had talked about like total talent management and skills gaps and how do you do skills hiring. Now you're talking to people that are actually putting these things in their programs, or they did this years ago. So you're hearing the replay of like what's actually happened in these programs. What are the results? And so we're able to start measuring things and hear what happens beyond just like the excitement of a particular topic.
And what are some of the results?
Yeah. So a lot of it, there was a conversation this morning. They were talking around the topic of direct sourcing and the net product of direct sourcing, right? What does that mean for the contingent workforce? A lot of that is around how much quicker you can hire people. Is there a better retention rate? Are they happier working within those organizations? And so they're measuring those types of aspects. I don't remember the exact stats or numbers that were shared around it, but those are some of the things that are being shared at this conference.
So I think what Justin is talking about there is really interesting, because this idea that a lot of the theories and the trends and things that were being explored in the past, a lot of companies are looking for proof points on right now. They're looking for the results, which is a natural part of how we exchange ideas and how we present ideas at conferences like that when it comes to building a great team. And I think that that's really important at this moment, because one of the big topics at contingent staffing was AI. And it's no big surprise. AI is a topic just about everywhere nowadays. But the thing that I heard the most at the show was this idea of caution around AI. And I want to just play you a clip here from Hannah Kredinsky, who is a global external workforce lead at EY. And here's her perspective on AI.
I think on the AI piece, being connected with broader AI strategy of the organization is really important, right? So if you try to do something pertaining to AI within only your space, likelihood is you're not going to be connected with the broader organization, which then could cause some hiccups and some potential frustration. So I would say embrace it, but ensure that you are embedded with broader AI strategy in your organization.
So this idea came up repeatedly. It's not chasing AI or not implementing AI just because everyone else is, but it's really understanding where it fits into the larger business goals. And I want to play a clip here from Fayez Nathu, who's the global contingent workforce leader at Marsh. And he took the conversation just a step further.
AI is such a nice big buzzword, 2 letters. I don't think people have figured it out. And that's one of the big questions. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people are here at this conference. A lot of them are here, yes, to meet suppliers, meet new suppliers, meet their old suppliers, understand what the contingent workforce field is about, how it's evolving. But a lot of people are here because of AI. I don't think everybody knows or anybody knows or has figured out how do you leverage AI into your program and where do you incorporate it, right? On the topic of MS, can they leverage AI? Yes, of course they can. Can they make the back office processes much better? Yes. Can they make it more efficient using AI? I hope so. But that's the MSP. What about the enterprise? What about as a program owner? Where can I use AI over and above AI summarize this reports for me, right? Over and above that, what can he do? So that's one of the things I'm looking for out of this conference is how do I use AI to make it work for me?
Do you think that comes from like a technology partner that's using it?
Yes, I think that's one avenue, right? What are you doing in the current technology space with AI that'll help my program? But more than just that is how do I, as a leader of the program, how do I leverage AI? Our firm has fully embraced AI. We have our own AI instance that's for the firm. They're pushing it across all business units to use it. So how do I leverage it? How can I make my program more efficient?
So one thing that came up really kind of again and again was this idea of the broader definition of what workforce really is. And so workforce planning, workforce strategy really used to be about how you hire employees, basically. But today that conversation is about a lot more. It's about contingent workers. It's about outsourced teams. It's about technology and AI. And increasingly, organizations are trying to determine what the right mix is. And here's Dustin Talley again to offer his perspective on that.
Contingent, outsourcing, AI, I think they're all interchangeable, right? Where I'll go with this and what I've heard people talk about most often is what does the blended model look like for your organization, right? How much outsourcing should be done? How much of that should be contingent? And now with AI on the scene, how much of that is an agent or some kind of an AI type workflow that might be happening? That variation is going to look different in a lot of organizations, but we could apply like a 60-30-10 model to it as one of the ones I've heard organizations doing. So 60% of your workforce is full-time, right? That's more than half. The majority is your full-time employees. 30% are contingent workers, right? Just in time, we need to pull these folks in and they fill a lot of the skills gaps across this organization. The remaining 10% oftentimes fit into that outsourcing kind of model. And then AI is probably kind of disrupting a little bit of all of these, right? The FTEs, we hear about this from a hiring perspective. Block laid off a lot of their workforce and they cite AI as being the source of that. That's happening to the contingent side as well, right? Can I go use AI before using an employee? Or do I need an AI equipped resource that can support this? So, but I think that model, whether it's 60-30-10 or some other variation, companies should really start thinking about where are we today and where do we want to be? And that's an exciting conversation to have on the floor here.
So the more you have these conversations, the more you realize that this is really not a staffing conversation. This is really a business strategy conversation. And if workforce strategy is becoming more complex, how do organizations really meet that complexity? How do they build programs that can support that? And technology might be changing, workforce models might be changing, but the execution of that really matters. And organizations seeing success are paying close attention to how their programs actually operate and how they operate with intentionality. And here's Wendy Williams. Wendy is the director of contingent labor programs with the Thales Group. And here's her perspective on that.
We've really tried to enhance the supplier relationships that we have, the relationship with our hiring managers, and just making sure for us compliance is really important. So that's a big piece, making sure that we're always ready for audits at any point. But we're just trying to make sure that the program's streamlined, that everything we do has a purpose, that our interviews to submissions to hires are efficient, and just tracking kind of each part of the process to make sure that it's working properly.
And I want to build on something that Wendy really focused in on there, and that's this idea of purpose. And when it comes to adopting technology, really making sure that that serves a purpose and the overall purpose of the organization and meeting its challenges. And the whole idea that everything has a purpose. It's not just there for the sake of technologies. And that might be one of the most simple but really effective definitions that came out of this show. And the same theme emerged with the role of MSPs, which are a great example of something that an organization creates and has been adopted widely in an industry, but really kind of coming back to this question of, is that serving the organization or the industry in the most effective way possible. Here is Fayez Natul with a perspective on that.
I think most of us agreed that we don't always leverage the MSP in the right ways. And I think if we do that and adapt to the changing world, changing technologies, then it's bringing great value. I think we all agreed that the MSP does more than just admin work. But I think a lot of us agree that that's what people see and that's what people think they do. And as a result, the MSP is overrated or overcharged, adding very little value because they only perceive what they see, which is the admin side. Yet, I think the MSP brings a lot more to the table in terms of the back office work, the legal support, the staffing suppliers, engagement, working with the hiring managers, bringing knowledge from the industry back home.
And so with all of the technology, all of the trends, all of the AI, really we kind of come back to this basic question of like, what does it really take to make and to build a great team? And I think that everyone at the show had a different perspective on that, but it really kind of boiled down to some essentials. And I want to go back to Hannah Kredinsky, who is with EY, with her definition of what it takes to build a great team.
I think it's taking the time to really understand not only people's skill sets and capacity, but also what their interests are, right? You can bring people into a team that are experts within a certain technology, but if that's not where their passion is, then they're not going to bring that same life and excitement to the role every day. So we focus on both skill, yes, and ensuring they have the tech aspect to do what they need to do, but also then that there's that passion and that drive.
So there you have it, just in a summary from one particular conference, the ProcureCon Contingent Staffing Conference, really some perspectives from some workforce leaders that really have some broader implications. So whether or not you're a very large organization that has an MSP or you're a smaller organization that's looking to bring on an apprenticeship program, the one theme that emerged here was that, trends are going to come and go, technologies are going to come and go, and some of those technologies are going to have a huge impact on a lot of organizations. But the intent behind everything, the question about does this best serve the organization? Does this best serve the intent of the organization to meet the challenges that it needs to meet in order to succeed? That's the one big central question. And that's really sort of the theme of this program overall, which is building teams with some kind of intention. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Teams by Intent podcast, brought to you by UPRO Placement. As traditional talent models struggle to keep pace with change, UPRO Placement is helping leading organizations reach their goals by expanding access to overlooked talent pools and building teams that are designed to evolve. You can learn more at upro.com. That's YUPRO.com. I'm James Krouse, and thanks for listening.